Hi guys, just wanted to show you what I have going on here today. This is Carrie with K&C Taxidermy. Remember to like and especially subscribe to our page here on YouTube. I'm working on some bigger skulls. Hopefully you've been following along with our European mount videos, and I'm finishing up this last Longhorn. This is actually going to be a shoulder mount, but I'll also show you what I do with these skulls. Even when I have to use the sheaths to put on the form, I still do like a plaster process to rebuild the the horn on the skull, and I can still airbrush it and do like a mock horn on the skull, and it still looks really nice. This one I'm trying to get the horns off. I've been boiling it one horn at a time. Of course, it's two. He's got some good horns on him. They're too long, so I do them one at a time. I've got the cartilage broke down around the base of the horn. Then I'll be taking my rubber mallet and literally beating these things off and pulling and twisting at the same time. And when you get them good and hot and all that membrane inside the horn loosened up around the bone that's inside the horn, there is a bone that runs inside the horn, it'll slide right off. But it is a process. Over here you can see I've got this old rodeo bull who died of natural causes, old age, and his horns actually, it looks like they abscessed inside. They were broken off, or just maybe old age. This is the first time I've seen this, but you can tell from it looked like it got ate up inside the horn. And I don't know if that's an age thing. Some of you guys may be able to tell me that. Some of you who know a little bit more about, but when I took these sheaths off, it had already, I've seen abscessed teeth and stuff that look like that, but it's like the bone inside the horn had that same kind of appearance. If you guys know more about that, you can tell me. I'd love to hear your comments regarding that. As you can see, it's the same procedure. I put my bleaching paste with my salon quality volumizer, I believe that is, and the whitening powder. I've mixed that, and about 4 scoops of the whitening powder and enough to the volumizer to make the volumizer cream to make a good paste to paint on here. And I'm going to let that sit probably on one this size a couple days, and then I'll rinse that off, and it'll be real nice and white. And I have to soak these. I have a big tub that I soak these in my peroxide solution before I do my bleaching paste. Sorry to be whipping around here, but I've got so much to show you that I figured it'd be better for me to video this handheld. So as you can see, this is my process on the bigger skulls. After I've done, my power spraying station is right over there, and of course my lovely assistants are always eager to help. Yes, hi girls. Looking for any kind of scraps. So I'll try to it's going to be hard to video this the same time while I'm trying to beat these horns off, but I will try to get some footage of that so you can see how I do that. But this is how I do. Oh, and this is the big sheaths. This is the old rodeo bull, his sheaths, and I've got a and I'll take a picture of that so you can see it, but I've got a solution I have soaking inside it to kind of help take the smell out. All right? I also save the jawbones. A lot of people don't, but I like to do paintings and stuff on them, so I keep those aside. I save those as well and whiten them as well. But, yep, this is my process. on my bigger skulls, my bisons, my longhorn, and just my regular cow skulls. Of course, this guy's about just as big as my longhorns. He's a big old rodeo bull. All right, guys. Thanks again, and keep watching. So this is the removal of the horn. I've already gotten it removed, but I wanted to show you before I get this up here, before I mount it. See, I've already got one up there on the form, but I'm going to come back because I told you I would show you how to remove the horn from the skull. So once you get it boiled down and that membrane inside this horn, because you see on this side, this is what it looks like on the inside. There is a bone on the inside. These horns are not hollow. So you have this bone on the inside, and then there's a membrane that's wrapped around it, and that's what you have to boil down to get that, the sheath will expand, and then we'll take our rubber mallet. Once you get it good and boiled down and that softened and that membrane loosens from this bone, as you can see, it's very porous, so it adheres. You've got to get that membrane loosened from this so that once you get it good and hot and warmed up, you can come and take your rubber mallet and start, and you're not going to hurt this thing. I mean, I really pound it, and there's cartilage around here that you're going to, usually I take like a flathead screwdriver and pick out, and then once you get that out, and then you hit all the way up, and you'll get it loose, and it usually, if you've gotten it good and hot enough and loosened up enough, sometimes I have to take my foot and I brace on here, and then I can usually just slide it right off. That's when you know it's ready. But you're going to have to take your rubber mallet and really, kind of make sure you get it loosened up all the way around. The important thing is really pounding it with your rubber mallet, and don't be like me and take your rubber mallet to your shin. I would advise against that. That doesn't feel good. But anywho, that's how I get my horns off. And then even though I take my sheaths off, I get this off, I'm still gonna, and I can come back and show you that again later. I still do a European mount with my skulls. I'm gonna take some of my plaster, and I will do the cover up these horns, and then I airbrush them. So then I still have a really nice European mount, even though I use these sheaths for my form. Once I get these bull horns off, I boil the skulls, and I'm able to slide the horns, the sheath of the horns off, because you're going to need to get those off to be able to clean all that membrane out. Once you get those off, I usually take a fine sandpaper. I believe this sandpaper that I'm using is a 180 fine grit, and I use this to sand the horn to just kind of smooth out, because sometimes the boiling process makes it kind of flake up and peel up a little bit. But now down here at the base of the horn, this wasn't really old. It was a retired rodeo bull, and he died of natural causes. This kind of stuff, this natural aging and kind of callousing of the bone, that's going to stay. That I don't do anything. But up here on the smooth part, I'm going to just kind of, so I can kind of smooth that out and shine that up a little bit. All this right here, because that's what kind of flakes up and peels up, kind of splinters a little bit when you boil it, because it softens that up a little bit. Here you can tell this one I haven't done yet, and you can see how it kind of splinters up a little bit during the boiling process. That's completely normal. but I'm just going to take this fine grit sandpaper and I'm going to just smooth all that out, and so that I can just wipe it down. What I usually use is WD-40 just to kind of shine it up and put some oil back into the horns. I leave them as natural as possible. I don't put any kind of urethane or poly or anything like that on them. I like to leave them as natural as possible. As you can see, I'm just going to take, this is one before and that's one after. I just take my WD-40 here and I just spray a coat on there. We'll just kind of let it sit for a minute. Let those oils kind of soak in. Okay. And then I'm going to take my terry cloth here and I just, kind of wipe it in there. And just wipe it, and it cleans them up real nice and gives them a protectant. This is also how I clean. I prefer to clean my horns and antlers in the shop, because not only does it clean it real well, but it also kind of gives it a nice protectant and a hydration, kind of, keeps them nice and clean and gives that horn some hydration. So I prefer WD-40. Some people I know may use just like Pledge, furnish polishing, or even Murphy's oil soap or some stuff like that. I find that leaves a little more of a film on there. I prefer WD-40. That's how I leave like a natural look on, and clean, and really get those oils back into my horns and antlers. All right, a problem you may run into, especially with your longhorns or your cows with longer internal bones inside their horns, their sheaths, like this, even this rodeo bull, even though it broke off, when it's got a curvature to it, that bone, once you boil it off and it swells up, expands to be able to pull that sheath off this bone, that expands so you can get it off. Now, once it cools off, it shrinks up. So it's hard to get it slid back on. I just tried to put it back on and it is not going back over this, and especially back over the curvature here. And on your longhorns and your skulls with the longer internal bones like this, I usually don't have this problem with the bison and stuff like that. It's not as long as a internal bone as like these skulls. So what I'm needing to do is cut off. But as you can see, I'm still leaving, I'd say, about 3 to 4 inches on that base, so that I can, and all I'm using is my Sawzall here, and it cuts pretty easily, and I get a nice clean cut. But I'm cutting off that internal bone there, as you can see, from that horn, so that I can get a nice clean fit and get that sheath back on there for my European. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use, that spray insulation foam and fill that horn back and put it on there, and then kind of pre-drill and tack it back on there, and then I wrap it with rope. But on this bull in particular, I caped out its forehead skin and tanned it so that I can wrap it around the base of the horns, since this is a special bull to these people. This particular family, they've had it the life of this bull, and he's an old retired rodeo bull on their farm. So I decided to do something special with him. So I skinned out his forehead skin and tanned it, and I'm going to use it to, when I put the sheaths back on, I'm going to use it to dress up this skull, and we'll get into that a little further. But I just wanted to let you know that sometimes this is something that needs to be done, because once those horns, the sheaths, dry and shrink back up, sometimes when you have a really long or a curvature on there, it's hard to get them to slide back on there. They don't quite fit back on, so sometimes you have to make a cut. So as you can see, what I couldn't get on to slide on there before fits on there quite nicely now. Okay? Sometimes you gotta just, and it's nice and snug on there, even just like that. Because now it fits nice and tight. This is shrunk back up. So that's why it was hard to get it to slide back on that whole piece. So sometimes you got to work smarter, not harder, and make some adjustments. You don't need all that. It just adds extra weight anyways, all that horn on the inside. So as you can see, now it's going to fit nicely on there. And I can get this assembled back together. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my great stuff here and spray some of that in there and put this back on here, because that also acts as an adhesive, and we'll make sure that that doesn't come back off. You know, the customer in transport taking it back home, or they get it home and say it accidentally drops or falls off the wall or for some reason, because it's out of my control once it gets home. I know I have peace of mind that I've done everything that I can do that it will hopefully stay intact, despite what kind of abuse it may go through after it's out of my hands. Okay? So there you have it. Thank you for watching us here at K&C Taxidermy. Remember to like and subscribe us here on YouTube, and join us next time for our latest creation. And we'll see you then.